Hi friends, thank you for joining me today. Today we're going to do a nice flow that's going to create a lot of strength in the core. We're going to build up some fire in the belly and maybe push some stagnant energy out and see if we can get some maybe ideas that are sitting on the fence. We can push those out and find a direction to go in our lives. We'll start here by sitting in easy seated position, Sukhasana. Pressing the sit bones into the mat, lengthening up the spine. Crown of the head reaches up towards the sky. The shoulders slightly melt away from the ears and the heart comes forward. We're going to bring our hands in our lap and we'll place them on our knees, palms facing up or down, whatever feels good to you. Settling into this practice today. This will be about a half an hour flow. Settling down here and focusing on the breath. Slowing it all down. Long, deep inhales all the way to the pit of the belly. And exhale, push the belly button to the spine and release all that stagnant air. Let's practice this long, steady breath for 3 more rounds. Next inhale, let's flutter open the eyes. And as we flutter open the eyes, we're going to reach the fingertips back. And as if we were moving through molasses, reach up nice and slow. Hands meet above the head. And exhale, hands to heart center here. Push those hands into one another. Let's do that again. Inhale. Reaching the arms up. And exhale, hands to heart center. Again, pushing those hands into one another here. One more time, inhale. And exhale here. Push those hands into one another. Next, inhale, we're going to reach the fingertips up towards the sky. And then on a big exhale, right hand comes down to the mat. Push that hand into the mat. Press those sit bones down and rainbow over this left arm. Really reach with that left pinky to the opposite side of the room. Heart is slightly spiraling up towards the sky. Gaze is up. On your next exhale, we're going to go round in here. As if we were rounding over a beach ball here. We're going to reach and try to reach those left fingertips down to the ground here. Getting a nice side body. Next exhale, go ahead and bring the body all the way to the center. Folding here, tenting those fingertips, and then round in the back, chin to chest. Push those fingers into the ground, getting a nice arc in the back. Stretching out your QL muscles here. Next inhale, let's go ahead and place that left hand right next to you. And we're going to bring that right arm over. And we're going to exhale over this ball, trying to bring those right fingertips down to the ground. Big inhale as the heart starts to come up towards the sky. And then exhale as we rainbow over. This right arm reaching the right pinky to the opposite side of the room. Big inhale as we come back to center. Both hands meet above the head. And exhale, hands to heart center here. We're going to do some neck stretches here. Doing some nice circles with the neck. On an exhale, let's bring the chin to the chest and roll that right ear towards the right shoulder. Inhale as we bring the head back and point that chin up towards the ceiling. Exhale as we bring the left ear towards the left shoulder and keep exhaling as we circle all the way around to the right. Inhale as we come back. And exhale. Let's do one more full circle in this direction. Opposite direction now. Remembering to exhale when the head comes forward. And inhaling when the head comes back. We'll meet with the chin to the chest. Inhale as the head comes back on top of the shoulders. Crossing the ankles here. We're going to move into a tabletop. Shoulders over the wrists, hips over the knees. And let's spread the fingers nice and wide. Now let's do some circles over those wrists. Getting some movement in our hands. Getting prepped for our down dog and all of our hand poses today. We're going to be hovering our knees. Practicing one-leg mountain. Finding ourselves in a tabletop again. Shoulders over the wrists, hips over the knees. And we're going to start to externally rotate those hands until the fingertips are facing the knees. Tucking the toes here because we're going to come into toe sit too. We're going to exhale and we're going to sink the hips back, leaving the entire hand on the mat, feeling that stretch in the forearms. Oof, getting that burn and breathing, spending the breath. Next exhale, go ahead and sink the hips even further and start to lift the entire hand off the mat, only leaving the fingertips on the mat, really stretching out the bottom of the hands here. Feeling the difference on each side, noticing the sensations. And then next exhale, go ahead and sink the hips all the way to the heels, bend in those elbows and open and close the hands. Shake them out. Coming into our toe sit here, feeling the sensation in the feet. If you need to come forward and tap out your toes, go ahead. This can be a big stretch for a lot of people. Next inhale, let's go ahead and come forward into a tabletop. Untuck those toes and tap them out. We're going to do one more wrist opener here. And we're going to externally rotate the fingers until they're facing outward. So the fingers are facing out to the side of you. We're going to flip the hand over until the top of the hand is on the mat. So top of the hand on the mat. Shoulders over the wrist still here, and I'm sure you can feel that stretch here. Big stretch in the forearms. Belly button to the spine, trying to breathe into the stretch. It's uncomfortable for everybody. I won't lie to you, this stretch will probably never be comfortable. You can even rock back and forth, make little circles, whatever feels good to you in your body. Next inhale here, let's go ahead and take a seat on the heels, untucked toes here. Bend in the elbows again and shake out. And close those hands. We're going to be moving into our first down dog. So coming into a tabletop again. Tucking the toes, sending those hips up and back. It's our first down dog for our practice. So pedal it in, bending one knee, bending the other. cat pawing it in, separating those shoulder blades. Let's find stillness here for one round of breath. And then with an inhale, let's come up to the tippy toes, tuck the chin to the chest, and let's wave that body forward into plank. Holding plank here, belly button to the spine. And then on your next exhale, we're going to bend in the knees. And we're going to bend in the knees. We're going to hover those knees. But the hips are going to come over the knees, pushing the ground away with your hands. And again, belly button to the spine. This feels so nice in the low back. And then next exhale, go ahead and lengthen out those legs. And we're coming into downward facing dog. Next exhale, go ahead and bring the knees down to the mat. Coming back into a tabletop. Shoulders over the wrists, hips over the knees here. On an inhale, pull back with a bow and arrow with the left hand. Reach the left fingertips up to the sky as the gaze follows. Big exhale here, plant that left hand down to the mat. Inhale here as we lift that right knee, we step that right knee in between the feet. Coming up into a strong low lunge. The big inhale as you push the right foot into the ground, lifting the torso up nice and high. Slightly tuck that pelvic bowl forward. Feel the stretch. Next, exhale here. We're going to pull back on the right hip crease and we're going to open up and twist over to the right. Coming into twisted warrior on our knees. Next exhale. Take this right hand, bring it to your left thigh, left fingertips up to the sky. Exalted warrior on our knees. We're going to be moving into our frog pose here. So on an exhale, we're going to cartwheel those hands down. Hands are going to come on the inside of that right foot. We're going to come into a tabletop again. And we're going to move into frog pose. Shoulders over the wrists here, hips over the knees, and let's slowly start to separate those knees. As we separate the knees, we're going to flex the feet and we're going to bring the inside of the feet or the foot down to the mat, feeling a stretch here. Some of you might be able to hold it here. Some of you incredible yogis can actually separate the knees more and lay it on in. Some of us are still finding this pose. Breathing here. And then let's just take little rocks forward and back. Opening up the groin muscle here. Also opening up in the low back. Next, inhale. Let's go ahead and push those hands, forearms into the mat. Shoulders come under the wrists, shoulders go over the wrists again. And we're going to slowly push the ground away as you bring your knees back together, nice and gentle. Being kind to those adductor muscles. Coming back to the top of the mat. Coming into a tabletop here, shoulders over the wrists, hips over the knees here. We're going to come into our next pose. So big inhales, we pull back on that bow and arrow and we reach the right fingertips up to the sky, getting a nice twist. And then exhale, plant that right hand down to the mat. Next inhale, we're going to lift that left knee. We're going to step that left foot on the inside in between the feet, or in between the hands. Big inhales, we push that left foot into the mat. And we come up into our low lunge, reaching the fingertips up to the sky, finding our pose here. And then the next exhale, pull back on this left hip crease and open up. Take a twist over towards the left. Next exhale, let's bring this left hand down to the right thigh and reach the right fingertips up to the sky. Exalted warrior on our knees. And then big exhale. We're going to frame this left foot and we're just going to step that left foot back and come back into tabletop. We're going to move into down dog. So tuck in the toes, sending the hips up and back, down dog. Big inhale as we come up to the tippy toes and we're going to take steps all the way to the top of the mat. Feet in between the hands and forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift, crown of the head reaches forward, and give yourself a little wiggle in the booty because it feels good. And then big exhale, fold. Next, inhale here, push those feet into the mat with a bend in the knees, arms are heavy, chin is tucked. Coming up to standing, hands meet above the head. And exhale, hands to heart center here. Big inhale here as we reach the fingertips up towards the sky. And exhale, hands to heart center. We're going to continue to fold forward, folding, leading with the heart. Planting the hands here, let's step back into downward facing dog. Big inhale as we take our vinyasa here. Inhale as we come up to the tippy toes, coming forward into plank. And then exhale as we bend in the knees and hover. Hover those knees. Ooh, that feels good in the low back. Inhale here as we send those hips up and back into downward facing dog. Finding our down dog here, and then on a big inhale, we're going to reach the right toes up to the sky in tripod dog. Hips are square here. And then big exhale here, knee to nose as we shift that body forward and we step that right foot in between the hands. Coming into crescent lunge, feet are on train tracks, and a big inhale as you push that right foot into the ground, reaching the fingertips up to the sky. Again, pulling back on this right hip crease and forward on the left. Hips are square. Taking our twist here, we're going to pull back on this left hip crease, and we're going to open up and twist over towards the right. Taking our exalted warrior here, we're going to drop that right hand to that left thigh and reach those left fingertips up to the sky. Big exhale here as we cartwheel those hands around, dropping that back heel, and we're going to open up into a warrior two. Feeling our warrior here. Next, inhale, we're going to lengthen out this front leg. Toes are going to come forward, and we're going to forward fold, wide leg forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift, crown of the head reaches forward. And exhale, fold. Weight on the pinky edge of the foot and the balls of the feet. Big inhale here as we plant the hands down, and then exhale. Next inhale, we're going to pull back on this bow and arrow, and we're going to reach the left fingertips up to the sky. And exhale, bring that left hand back down. Inhale as we pull back on the bow and arrow and reach the right fingertips up to the sky. And exhale, bring that right hand back down to the mat. We're coming into Skandasana here. So, left toes point out to the back of the mat. Right foot flexes, and we sink the hips down. Sinking nice and low. Coming into Skandasana here, hands to heart center. Big inhale as you push the ground away. And we're going to come to Skandasana at the top of the mat. Finding our pose here. Big inhale, push those hands into the mat. We're going to come to the top of the mat, step back. Downward facing dog. Inhale as we come up to the tippy toes, tucking the chin to the chest, and we wave that body forward into plank. Exhale here as we bend in the knees. Push the ground away. Hips over the knees here. Nice hover. Next inhale, we're going to lengthen out. Coming into down dog. Inhale as we lift the left toes up to the sky. Reach those toes back in tripod dog. And exhale, knee to nose as we shift that body forward and step that left foot in between the hands. Feet again on train tracks. Big inhale as we push the left foot into the ground, coming into crescent lunge. Next exhale here, we're going to pull back on this left hip crease, and we're going to open up and twist over towards the left. Dropping that left hand to the right thigh and reaching the right fingertips up to the sky, exalted warrior. We're going to cartwheel those hands around, and we're going to open up into warrior two. Big inhale here as we lengthen out this front leg and we bring the toes with us. Wide leg forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Give yourself a little wiggle in the hips and fold. Inhale, halfway lift. And exhale here. Inhale as we pull back on that bow with the right hand, reaching the right fingertips up to the sky. And exhale, plant that right hand down. Inhale as we pull back with the bow and arrow with the left hand, reaching the left fingertips up to the sky. And exhale here, bring that left hand down and forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift, and we're taking Skandasana again at the back of the mat. So, right toes point outward, left foot flexes, and we sink the hips down. Sinking our hips down to the mat, hands come to heart center. Inhale as we push the ground away. Take Skandasana at the top of the mat. Sinking those hips down, flexing that right foot, hands to heart center. Inhale, plant those hands into the mat. We pivot to the top of the mat. Step back, downward facing dog. Inhale here as we come up to the tippy toes, tucking the chin to the chest, and we wave that body forward to plank. Exhale here as we bend in those knees and we hover here. Inhale as we lengthen out, coming into down dog. Big inhale here as we come up to the tippy toes, and we're going to take tiny little steps or big steps all the way to the top of the mat. Feet in between the hands and forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift, round of the head reaches forward, and then exhale, fold. Next inhale here, we're going to push our feet into the ground, and we're going to suck up all the energy from the earth, and we're going to bring that right knee with us. Coming into one leg mountain. Feeling strong in our one leg mountain here, both feet are flexed. Next exhale, heart is going to come forward, and we're going to step that right foot to the back of the mat. Coming into a crescent lunge. Finding our crescent lunge here. And then with a big exhale, pull back on that left hip crease and we twist open to the left. Inhale as we come forward into a crescent lunge again. And then we're going to come around, drop that back heel and open up into warrior two. We're coming into triangle pose and then pyramid. So next inhale, lengthen out this front leg as we send the hips back. Reaching with the left fingertips down to a block, your ankle or the mat. Right fingertips up to the sky, or you can reach the right fingertips overhead. Next exhale, drop that right hand down as we lift that back heel, pivot forward. Slight bend in this front knee, and we're coming into pyramid pose, shoulders down and back. Feeling your stretch. And then next exhale, we're going to bend in both knees, and we're going to walk those hands towards the center of the mat. Bring those left toes with us in wide leg forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Crown of the head reaches forward. And then exhale, fold. Next inhale here, we're going to press the feet into the mat with a slight bend in the knees. Belly button to the spine, hands on your hips, and inhale as we lift that heart up. We're going to come into goddess pose. Toes point outward. Start to bend in the knees, sinking those hips down, feeling the strength of your legs. Spine is nice and lengthened here. We're not pressing all the weight into our thighs. Just barely holding our thighs here. And let's bring the hands to heart center. Next inhale, we're going to press the feet into the mat, lengthening up. Hands come above the head, star pose. Exhale here as we open up and we come into warrior two, bending in the front knee. Flipping the front palm, inhale, and let's reverse that warrior. Big exhale as we cartwheel those hands down and take a big step back. Downward facing dog. Inhale here as we come up to the tippy toes, tuck the chin to the chest, and we wave the body forward into plank. Exhale here as we bend in those knees, and hover. Inhale as we lengthen out, coming into downward facing dog. Next inhale here, we're going to take small steps all the way to the top of the mat. Feet in between the hands and forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift, slight cobra in the back. And exhale, fold. Inhale here as we press all the weight into the right foot, coming into one leg mountain. We're going to bring that left knee with us. Left knee at a 90-degree angle, both feet flexed, fingertips up to the sky. Next exhale, the heart comes forward as we take a big step back to the back of the mat, coming into crescent lunge. Fingertips reach up towards the sky. Next exhale, we're going to twist over towards the right. And then inhale as we come forward into a crescent lunge again. Dropping that back heel down, we're going to open up into warrior two. Big inhale as we send this left hip back, reaching the right fingertips out. We come into triangle pose, reaching those left fingertips up to the sky or overhead. Next exhale here, we're going to bring that left arm down. We're going to lift that back heel, toes forward, and we're coming into pyramid pose. Pulling back on the right hip crease and forward on the left. And then next exhale here, we're going to bend in both knees. Hands come on the inside of the right foot, and we're going to walk the hands towards the center of the mat. Right toes come with us. Toes slightly in, heels slightly out, forward fold. Wide leg forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift, crown of the head reaching forward. And then exhale, fold. Pushing the feet into the mat. Let's inhale. We're going to come up to standing. Coming up, pointing the toes outward now. We're going to come into goddess pose. Finding our goddess here. Hands on our knees. And then with an exhale, we're going to take that right shoulder towards the left knee. Inhale as we come up. And exhale, take that left shoulder to the left knee. Inhale as we come up. Next inhale, we're going to reach those fingertips up to the sky. Coming into star pose. And then we're going to open up and we're going to bend in this front knee. We're going to come into warrior two. Flipping that front palm. Let's reverse our warrior. Reaching the right fingertips back. Next exhale here, we're going to cartwheel those hands down. Take a big step back. Downward facing dog. Next exhale here, we're going to bring the knees down to the mat. Take a seat on the heels here. We're going to bring the hands to heart center in prayer. Scooting the hips over to one side or the other. We're going to bring the legs out in front of us. And we're going to do a diamond shape here. Soles of the feet touching, knees are falling apart, sit bones pushing into the ground, heart is coming forward, and then on an exhale, we're going to fold forward. Folding forward here and finding our edge, and once we find our edge, I want us to put our fingers, like tent our fingertips out in front of us. We're going to round in the back, bringing the chin to the chest. Getting a nice stretch in the low back and the QL muscles here. You can even rock back and forth, little tiny rocks. I'm sure you can feel your QLs when you do that. Next inhale, let's push those hands into the mat. We're going to come up to seated. Bringing the knees back together nice and slow. We're going to find ourselves down on our backs. Coming down. Finding our way to our mat. Hold on, I got some clip issues. Got to remove that clip. All right. Coming down here and relaxing in. We're going to bring the hands. Hands are going to come alongside the body. Palms are facing down. We're going to be pushing the forearms into the mat. That was odd. Okay. On our backs now, we're going to come into a rolling bridge. So knees are bent, feet are separated about hips distance apart, which is roughly 2 fists in between your hands. Arms alongside the body, palms barely gracing. grazing the heels. Palms facing down, forearms pushing into the mat. On a big inhale, we're going to push the heels into the mat, and we're going to lift the hips up towards the ceiling. On an exhale here, we're going to tuck that pelvic bowl towards our belly button and slowly lower the spine back down. Inhale as we push the heels into the mat, and we start to lift the hips up towards the ceiling, coming up to the shoulder blades, and then exhale, slowly lower back down. Inhale, push those heels into the mat as we come up. And exhale, lowering back down. Separating the feet about mat's distance apart or shoulders distance apart, whichever works for you. Allowing the knees to come in slowly towards each other here. And getting a nice stretch, doing a nice internal hip rotation. Breathing here. And then from here, we'll be moving into our Savasana. Slowly heel toe those feet back together, nice and slow. Lengthening out the legs here. Arms alongside the body, palms facing up towards heaven. Closing down the eyes here and allowing the feet to fall naturally apart. Melting into the floor, relaxing the face, and let's find stillness here for a few minutes. Bringing ourselves back to awareness now. Focusing on the breath. Starting to make small movements in the body, wiggling the fingers and the toes, allowing the movement to grow up the body. Bending the knees. Rolling over to one side or the other, coming to a fetal position for a moment, keeping the eyes heavy or closed. Using that top hand, we're going to push into the mat and return to an easy seated position, Sukhasana. Bringing the hands to heart center here and thanking yourself for showing up, giving yourself a bunch of gratitude for coming to your practice, coming with an open mind, and being consistent and showing compassion to yourself. Thank you for allowing me to be a part of your practice, and I hope to see you guys again next week. From here, we're just going to leave it here, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and I'll see you later. Take care.